Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Super Metroid. In the last part we did some more stuff around the areas, coming back to Norfair in the process. And now we're back in this hallway where we used the speed booster earlier to get the ice beam. However, now we can destroy those conveniently labeled power bomb blocks, so now we can get into this area. Which has a crap load of enemies we need to kill, one of which I just realized, actually no, both of which I just realized were also in Zero Mission. Now, one thing I'm going to do here is actually enter my speed boost state and shine spark. Why? Because if you shine spark to the side right here, you end up over here, and if you shoot the wall right immediately, you can get this missile tank. If you do fall down to the pit, you might think you can climb up the platforms, but it's actually harder than it would seem because these are all made out of the crumbling blocks that you can jump off of if you time it just right. Also, I believe those blocks are actually called Zebetite, if I recall correctly. And another speed booster room. These rooms are pointless, but I still love how satisfying they are. And down through this super missile door, we actually got our next boss. Who is Crocomire. Crocomire is actually one of the more unique bosses in the series, and the fact that he has technically infinite health. This is actually a pushing battle. When you shoot anything into his mouth, he gets pushed back varying amounts of spaces depending on what you hit him with. Super missiles are the way to go. However, he can also move towards you and push you into a wall of spikes, which, needless to say, isn't fun. First off, I'd like to mention the fact that his cry, who shares a cry somewhat with the next boss, is a bit of a reference to the Titanosaurus from the Godzilla stuff, if I recall correctly. And Crocomire here was also supposed to be in Zero Mission as a mini-boss with a much harder skeleton, but that never got to happen, sadly. But anyway, you push him off into the acid, and meet the most gruesome thing in a Nintendo game ever. Ugh. Yowza. How was this game rated E again? Mind you, I think this was... No, actually, no, this was after the ESRB was created, wasn't it? Because Mortal Kombat 1 was already out. Or was it? I don't recall. It's been a while. Ah, great. Is the spike wall going to come towards me? Okay, let's do this. What the... Holy hell, you are persistent and dead. I don't know if that was supposed to be a scare or funny, I don't know. Anyway, speed boost jump to the right, and you can get this energy tank. This is technically a sequence break, but the item that you would normally use to get this, as signified by the blocks up top, we're gonna actually get very soon. Very, very soon, actually. Also, one weird little thing is, if you exit and re-enter the room, Crocomire's skeleton is actually moved a couple spaces to the left. I don't know why that is. Anyway, now we're in this room, which actually has another sequence break you can do. If you do a run jump just right, which takes me a couple tries, actually, you can make it up to this platform early. Not much early, but early nonetheless. Takes me a couple tries, but I eventually do it, and in doing so, you get to blow up this missile door. Which, in turn, leads you to a power bomb upgrade. So that's handy. Anyway, time for this room. There's a door here immediately on the left. Do not enter that. That is pointless as of this point. But down here we got this missile door we can open. This is only for a collectible. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. However, I do believe unless you do some really, really specific jumps, you can, in fact, get to the next area without the next major upgrade. Do not quote me on that, however. Anyway, as for the stuff that's on screen right now, as I mentioned during the Crocomire fight, that is acid. It's technically lava, well, a kind of lava tile, but it does a lot more damage and it can never be stopped by anything. Anyway, you're gonna want a power bomb here and prepare a speed boost, because not only do you need to do that to progress, but if you time it just right, which took me a couple tries again, you can wall jump up to here to get a missile upgrade. I almost said missile jump. This isn't Team Fortress 2, Kyle. What are you talking about? I need to play that again. I haven't played that in a while. Anyway, what you actually need to do is time a speed booster jump just right so you can fly over this pit and do that. More games need to do that. Anyway, now we got the first appearance in the series of the Grappling Beam. You might have noticed throughout the game those frequently appearing screw-like blocks, some of which you'll see at the top of this room. Right there, actually. That's what the Grapple Beam is for. You can hook onto them now, and certain enemies as well. Mind you, as you've noticed, I've said screw you to most of these blocks because I have the wall jump. But it's there, I suppose. It is the second most useless item in the game, admittedly, if you know the game as well as I do. That won't stop you from failing like that. The grapple itself does actually go on swing logic, where you have to build up momentum before you can actually do any good swings. But, oh well. And now we're in the room just to the left of where that giant pit was that we fell into to get into this kind of square-like area to begin with. There's a super missile barrier right here. If you need to grind for them, however, there is in the first water pit, there is enemies that respawn constantly. And so at this point, I'm actually going to cut back to the room right before a Crocomire's room. Because this is where we want to go next in terms of completion. Namely, we want to go into here. Because, first off, this is a shortcut back to the main elevator corridor for Norfair here. And if you time it right, you can actually get a running jump up there. However, I just decided to say, screw it, let's do the grapple beam strategy because it's easier. I'm no speedrunner with this if it isn't obvious enough. I just play this game for fun. And we got a missile. That's dandy. And here we are back at the main elevator corridor. It's now I'm actually coming back to this red room area we've been into in Lower Brinstar quite a bit. Because you may have noticed there's a power bomb door I've ignored here blatantly multiple times. Well, now that we have the grapple beam, we can actually do stuff in there. You can technically wait until you get an item from the next area or so, but I want to do this now. What this area is, well, first off, it's filled with spikes, and you got these firefly enemies. When you kill them, the background and the room itself overall darkens. However, if you freeze them, you're completely good. This can be detrimental because, aside from the grapple blocks, everything gets darker, so you don't know where the spikes are, I believe. It's been a while since I've gotten everything out, though. Best way to go about this is just to spam the grapple beam button like I am right now. Admittedly, this is actually kind of pointless because we're going to get the most useless item in the game for doing this. Well, yet again, like I said, for the grapple beam, useless if you know what you're doing. For me, it's actually, for a first-timer, it's, whoa, I'm in a pillar. For a first-time player, it's actually probably the most godsend-like thing I've seen in a while. We get the X-ray scope. What this does is when you select it and you hold the A button, Samus will send an X-ray parabola thing. That's the wrong word, I know it is. And it allows you to see through hidden objects. Like so. You can't move while using it, but it has its uses, I suppose. Also, I now notice that this game is just glitching my recording like nothing else. Because you're probably noticing, there's times where it loses a lot of frames and such, and that doesn't happen ever. Well, it happens every now and then, but not nearly this often. It's now that I'm actually going to cut back to the ship area, because this is where our next objective is. You might recall, well, first off, obviously I healed up at the ship and got all my stuff restored. You might recall this corridor we were in earlier when I was actually first mentioning the charged power bomb techniques, even though I never used them. Or didn't go into detail about them until the last part, even. It's now we can progress in this next area. First off, right in the middle of our path, we got a missile. Also, I believe I stated earlier that the maximum was 220-something, or maybe 240. It's actually 230. And we also got crumbling grapple blocks, which crumble after a certain time of you hanging onto them, though. They're not that big of a threat. And welcome to water. Until we get a certain upgrade later on, this is your nightmare. Samus's momentum is gimped as hell. There's also the fact that she can't jump for crap. But there's this little hidden passageway we can enter here that I want to do now. For this you can wait until later to do, however, I want to do it now. For a missile. Yay! I do have to wonder where she keeps all the missiles, considering those are rather sizable. Unless they materialize as you shoot them, kind of like the battle chips and battle cards in the Star Force and Battle Network series of Mega Man. Eh. I mean, look at that spin jump. That is pathetic. Anyway, this is the area you technically need the grapple beam for, though if you know how to time a running jump just perfectly, you can make it through without it. I've done it before, so it's not that hard to do. Particularly with the second one here. It's also here that we get our first grappling enemy in the game, though they're not that threatening at all. In fact, they're pretty much just the weird flying turtles from Brinstar. Aren't they called Zoomers, or am I thinking of a different enemy? I think I'm thinking of a different enemy. Anyway, with that, welcome to the next area of the game, the wrecked ship. Which, in terms of the zero mission timeline, actually makes sense for its placement, because this could be the ship that we blew up, but I don't think it actually is. I think it's been confirmed to be something else entirely. This place is powerless for now. First off, I'm going into a little hidden passageway to get something. And the only enemies that appear in here are those little skull ghost things. They're actually kind of creepy. Also, worthy note, when the power's out, these spikes do not hurt you at all. Which is weird, considering if I was a Mega Man, I would be dead by now. Also a missile right there. But, yeah. The power will get restored fairly shortly, but if you want to do some exploration for your map, you might as well do it now. You can't do much of it, but, might as well, right? There's a little passageway to the right. We'll go to that later on. Because this is actually the third to last area we have left to explore. And down here we have this little corridor. I believe to the left is a map station, but we can't use that yet. Yeah, there are map stations in this game, but I just never use them because I know the map already. And by killing that, I think I'm actually going to go into my equipment items to deactivate the ice and spacer beams. Why? Well, for our next boss here. Blue fire! Oh, great, we're not running out of time all of a sudden. Joking aside, though, our boss for today is Phantoon, who, like Crocomire, shares a roar with Titanosaurus. The way he works is that he has all these sorts of fire attacks, and he acts a lot like a ghost. He'll float around shooting fire at you, and he's mostly incorporeal. Or, that's not the right word, I know it is, oh well. You know what I mean, he's ghost-like. And you can only hit him when his eye is open. However, I opted to unequip those two beams because if I charge up my beams and those two beams attack him, he'll go into that little loop around the room and off-screen where I can deal a lot more damage to him. If you hit him with a super missile, he'll go into this one attack that takes forever to complete, so this is just the better option for me. I learned this by, like, playthrough 7, I want to say? But it's honestly not that big of a deal. He's a really easy boss. And he's also actually one of the largest, but we won't see that until I eventually get to Other M in, like, 17 years. Wow, there is a lot of that weird frame drop. Camtasia's been doing that with this game a lot in specifics. I'm not sure what it is about this game that freaks out my recorder, but it does. Why? Oh well. Phantoon's not a hard boss, really. He's just time-consuming as hell. Fittingly enough because he's a ghost, but oh well. You'll know he's getting close to dying, though, when he starts to be this really pale orange. If I recall correctly, actually, Other M concept art actually shows that he has this weird kind of shadow-like body and two hands, but it's been a while since I played Other M. I should do that again, because I actually really do like that game, story notwithstanding. Come on, die already, Phantoon. Damn it. I think Phantoon might just be the longest boss in the game. He's not the hardest if you're using my strategy, but he's definitely the most time-consuming. I forget, how do speedrunners do this fight, if they do it at all? It's been a while since I watched a speedrun. Oh, there's massive audio desync, but I don't care to fix that right now because I'm just not in the mood to do that. But luckily now he is dead. He is fading into existence. No, out of existence. And then he explodes and becomes my pause screen apparently. Oh, also, I'll re-equip your beams. And he becomes mode 7. Yay! And with that, we get our health restores, and the power to the entire wrecked ship is now back on. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we'll be continuing through the wrecked ship and hopefully finding a lot of upgrades in the process. See you guys then.